The film opens with a scientist named Ji-soo, who was undertaking a bold experiment. He was attempting to resurrect his late daughter by injecting her with an unknown substance. Meanwhile, the police became aware of Jin-soo's wild experiment and chose to step in. They storm into the lab, pleading with Jin-soo to cease his actions and surrender. However, Ji-soo was determined to disregard their pleas, persisting with his experiment. Consequently, he was taken into custody, but an earthquake hits and destroys everything. Fast forward 3 years later, and Seoul has transformed into a barren wasteland. Amongst the survivors is a young man, Choi Ji-won, who has adjusted to this brutal new reality. He hunts for sustenance using a bow and arrow, and one day, he encounters a large crocodile. Ji-won takes a careful shot and manages to stun the crocodile. However, the crocodile wakes up and chases him. Ji-won finds shelter in a car and is rescued by his adoptive uncle Nam-san, who decapitates the crocodile with a machete. Han Soo-na and her grandmother Yeon-soo have established their home in a small community where survivors have congregated. One day, Soo-na proposes that they visit the market to purchase some of Nam-san's fresh game, and upon reaching the market, they see Nam-san and Ji-won selling the crocodile meat. Here, money is obsolete, and people have adopted a system of trade by barter. Soon after, Soo-na and Yeon-soo come forward with a scarf, hoping to swap it for some of the crocodile meat on sale. Recognizing each other and thankful for the past assistance that they've received, Nam-san and Ji-won kindly give them several cuts of crocodile meat. Soo-na even starts to view Nam-san and Ji-won as her brothers due to their benevolent actions. Simultaneously, a gang led by Yoon Pal-ji arrives in Bus District with news of their leader Tiger, who was looking for someone in the vicinity. Yoon Pal-ji tries to take Soo-na, but Ji-won intervenes to protect her. However, Ji-won is outnumbered and overpowered by the gang members. Seeing this, Nam-san steps in and uses his power to defeat all the gangsters single-handedly, and after overcoming the gang, Nam-san questions Yoon Pal-ji to learn who had dispatched them. Nam-san finds a bottle of pure water in Yoon Pal-ji's pocket, which astonishes him because fresh water is a scarce resource. Yoon Pal-ji reveals that he's got water from Tiger, and Nam-san chooses to release Yoon Pal-ji but tells him to tell Tiger of their defeat. On hearing Nam-san's name, Yoon Pal-ji and his gang were taken aback and run away in terror, as they didn't anticipate being defeated by a warrior as famous as Nam-san. A while later, Nam-san and Ji-won decide to return to their own home, and as they pass by Soo-na's residence, they spot a woman named Yang Nam, accompanied by an elegantly dressed individual. Yang Nam proposes to Soo-na and her family a special apartment for teenagers and their families, with daily meals and various facilities. Nam-san believes it would be beneficial to Soo-na to accept this offer, particularly for Yeon-soo's health due to her age and weakness. Following Nam-san's suggestion, Soo-na eventually consents to Yang Nam's offer, and though saddened by Soo-na's departure, Ji-won vows to visit her regularly. As a farewell gift, Ji-won presents Soo-na a knitted cap, and Soo-na gives Ji-won one of her sketches. That night, Ji-won hangs Soo-na's artwork in his room, contemplating her relocation with Yang Nam. Nam-san, noticing that Ji-won was also awake, suggested they go on a hunting expedition. Concurrently, under Yang Nam's supervision, Soo-na and Yeon-soo, along with several others, began their journey to the special apartment for teenagers. While traversing a grassy terrain, a girl named Lee Ju-yi approached Soo-na and introduced herself. Upon discovering that Soo-na was of the same age, Ju-yi was delighted and invited Soo-na to be friends. After some time of travel, Yeon-soo and the old man became exhausted, leading Yang Nam to direct her subordinates to take them to the clinic for immediate care. Worried about her grandmother's health, Soo-na requested to accompany her, but Yang Nam refused, reassuring Soo-na that they would reunite with Yeon-soo once they reached the apartment. Convinced by Yang Nam, Soo-na agreed to continue their journey until they arrived at the designated pickup spot. However, Yeon-soo and the elderly man were secretly murdered by two of Yang Nam's men. Unexpectedly, Ji-won and Nam-san, who were hunting nearby, witnessed the murder and tried to intervene. Oddly enough, even after Ji-won and Nam-san killed the two men, they came back to life. Confronted with this strange situation, Nam-san and his nephew kept fighting. As Nam-san was about to be overrun by the zombie-like attackers, a woman named Lee Yoon-ho stepped in and saved him by taking out one of the attackers. Once they had the situation under control, Nam-san and Ji-won quickly buried Yeon-soo. The next morning, they approached Yoon-yo, who was still on the site of the attack, and asked her who she was. Yoon-ho introduced herself to Nam-san and Ji-won as a member of the South Korean Air Force, and she told them that her unit had found an apartment after a major earthquake a few years back, which they turned into a safe place for survivors. Later, a man named Jisoo arrived saying he was a doctor and was allowed to stay. Yoon-ho and her team eventually discovered Jisoo's evil experiments on soldiers, and when she reported this to her boss, Sergeant Kwon, he defended Jisoo and ordered her arrest, causing Yoon-ho to run away. Yoon-ho asked Nam-san for help in saving her team members, who were still at the same apartment. Meanwhile, Soo-na and her group had reached the apartment, where they were warmly welcomed by the people living there. Jisoo even greeted them, calling the place their new home, and Jisoo gave drinks to Soo-na and the rest before guiding them to their rooms, and Soo-na was amazed by the room, a big change for the tough conditions that she faced in her district. Meanwhile, Nam-san, Ji-won, and Yoon-ho were reminded of Yoon-paji's water bottle when they saw Yoo-in's bottle, which had come from Tiger. And so Nam-san decided to meet Tiger to find out how the gangsters got clear water, and at their base, Tiger watched a fight between his men and a gang from another area. At that moment, Nam-san, Ji-won, and Yoon-ho showed up to confront Tiger. Feeling threatened, Tiger and his gang attacked the newcomers, but Nam-san, using his fighting skills, beat all the gang members, including Tiger. Back at the apartment, Soo-na asked Kwon about Yoon-so, leaving the doctor unsure of what to say. Young Nam told her that Yoon-so was still getting treatment at the clinic, and soon after, all the new residents of the apartment came together for an introduction meeting. Young people like Soo-na and Jo-yi go to learning their classes, while others, like Jo-yi's parents, were given the job of clearing the apartment's water. Back at the gang's hideout, Nam-san kept questioning Tiger's men who had woken up, but they wouldn't give any information about the clean water. Getting annoyed, Nam-san used more force, and in the end, Tiger admitted that they got clean water by trading teenagers to a military group in the apartment. In the meantime, Soo-na and Ju-yi reached their new classroom, where their teacher, Yeon-nam, asked them to introduce themselves to their classmates. Soo-na noticed the strange behavior of the students and started to get suspicious. Before the class started, Jisoo, accompanied by soldiers, came in and stressed the importance of drinking water for health. He handed out water bottles to all the students and encouraged them to drink, and Soo-na used this chance to ask about her grandmother, and Jisoo explained that Yeon-soo was still in the clinic, needing intensive care, and would stay there for a few more days. That night, Soo-na secretly explored different rooms to find out the truth, and meanwhile, in the workers' area, Ju-yi's parents tried to resist the guards who were stopping them from seeing their daughter. Alerted by the commotion, Jisoo entered the workers' area and ordered his men to take Ju-yi's parents to his lab. At the same time, Soo-na went into Ji-yu's room, where she found the doctor's diary. It had notes about experiments to bring humans back to life. Her suspicions grew, thinking that the apartment was being used for the doctor's mad experiments, and she went into the other rooms linked to Jisoo's room and found Jo-yi unconscious, having been used as an experiment by the doctor. Just as Soo-na thought about saving Ju-yi, and Jisoo suddenly came back with Jo-yi's parents, causing Soo-na to hide in fear. When Jo-yi's parents entered the experimental room, they were shocked to see a girl in a box, her heart still beating. Seeing what had happened to their child, Jo-yi's parents became more and more angry with Jisoo for using their daughter like this, and suddenly, Jo-yi started shaking, causing Jisoo to panic as he looked at the results of the experiments on a screen. Unfortunately, Jisoo's experiment of Jo-yi didn't work and she died, and angry at what the doctor had done, Jo-yi's parents confronted him, but Jisoo felt no guilt and ended up killing them both. Soo-na, who was hiding close by, started to feel scared and tried to stay quiet, but Jisoo found her in the end. At the same time, Nam-san came up with a plan to save everyone who was triggered by the doctor, and the apartment was heavily guarded by Nam-san and was going to use Tiger to get access. The next morning, Nam-san started his plan, bringing Tiger with him to persuade the guards to let him in, and when the guards won't open the gate, Nam-san drove his car first, breaking through the entrance of the apartment. Ji-won and Yoon-ho joined Nam-san in fighting Kwon's forces, battling until they beat all the soldiers. At the same time, Soo-na was in a lot of pain, and as Jisoo kept doing his experiments on her, Yoon-ho then took Nam-san and the others to a room underground to try to save her teammates. But when they got there, they were shocked to find that Yoon-ho's team members had turned into monsters, and this made Nam-san and his group have to protect themselves in the end and kill Yoon-ho's team members. Not long after, Nam-san told his group to look for Soo-na after he had made several soldiers unable to move by causing explosions, and more of Kwon's soldiers came because of the noise and they started an attack, making Nam-san tell Yoon-ho and Ji-won to keep going with their mission while he dealt with the soldiers. When they got to the top floor, Yoon-ho, who had already taken out several guards, finally met Kwon. Feeling that she had some unfinished business with her boss, Yoon-ho told Ji-won to find Soo-na right after, as she planned to face Kwon. Ji-won didn't waste any time and kept looking for Soo-na, while Nam-san, having beaten all the soldiers on the bottom floor, planned to join his friends on the top floor. Yoon-ho was now fighting Kwon, but she can't seem to get the upper hand. Seeing Yoon-ho's weak spot, Kwon offered her the chance to join his soldiers again, but Yoon-ho said no and fought back. In a fit of anger, Kwon harshly attacked Yoon-ho until she passed out. At the same time, Ji-won found the room where Yang-nam was teaching, and he pointed a gun at Yang-nam and asked about Soo-na's whereabouts. While Ji-won was heading toward the lab with Yang-nam as his captive, Kwon came to stop him, and luckily, Nam-san showed up and confronted Kwon, giving Ji-won the chance to go on and save Soo-na. Inside the lab, Jisoo started to spit out blood because of the serum that he had put into his blood, and feeling weak, Soo-na, knowing his state, told Jisoo that his attempts were pointless as he could never revive his daughter. Shortly after, Ji-won found the lab intending to save Soo-na, and sadly, one of Jisoo's men in the room knocked Ji-won out by hitting him from behind. Jisoo told Yang-nam to help him put his daughter's body in a suitcase so he could run away, and in the hallway, Nam-san was still dealing with Kwon, who had somehow gotten up after Nam-san had nearly killed him. Nam-san threw Kwon's body into a glass block in the building and cut off the doctor's head using the glass pieces. During the confusion, Jisoo intentionally detonated a grenade in the lab to erase all evidence of his work, sadly causing Yang-nam's death. Ji-won protected Soo-na from the explosion, and Nam-san entered the lab and was relieved to find Ji-won and Soo-na alive. In the meantime, Jisoo was in the apartment courtyard, confronted by the furious parents whose children were his experiment subjects. On the other side, Yoon-ho woke up and immediately started looking for Nam-san and the others who had just left the lab. They quickly searched for Jisoo, who was randomly attacking people with a gun. Nam-san tried to get the doctor to give up, however Jisoo didn't respond to Nam-san's order, especially after finding out that the box with his daughter's body was destroyed. Driven by anger, Jisoo grabbed the gun again, planning to kill Nam-san and the others, but Nam-san stopped Jisoo's plans by shooting the doctor, ending the chaos. And after the battle, Yoon-ho thanked Nam-san and the others for helping to solve the problem in the building, and she dreamed of turning the apartment into a safe place for survivors. And before going home, Nam-san and Ji-won told Soo-na about Yoon-so's death, and they went with her to her grandmother's grave to pay their respects.
And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our video. Watch the next recaps on the screen, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.